So these topics will probably cover in the next class, because this is not sufficient time. Okay. So we will do all of this in the next class. Today we'll just conclude Bohr's model. So what are the final predictions here? So let's for a moment see what happens when you have k z e square by r square is equal to mv square by r, and you also have mvr is equal to nh by 2 pi, right? These are the two main things that he said, right? Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So now notice that his r can cancel like this and r can come here, right?
Yeah.
Correct. So this
Yeah.
becomes mvr into v is equal to kz e square, right?
Yeah.
And now I will write mvr as nh by 2 pi. Correct? So now you get quickly, you have gotten a formula for v, right? 2 pi k e square by nh z by n. No, z by n, right?
Yeah.
This is the formula that you're getting. Notice that it is v is dependent on z by n. Okay. And notice that all of this inside is a constant, right?
Yeah.
So what we it is unlikely that you will be able to remember this particular constant. Whenever in doubt, you should do this derivation. Okay. Don't try to memorize this. Okay. This is a practical point that I'm telling you. For the purpose of the exam, don't try to memorize this. You will make some mistake. Okay. So whenever in doubt, do the derivation. This derivation is quite nice and easy, right? It's r gets cancelled, r comes this side. mv square r, write it as mvr into v. mvr is nh by 2 pi, right? Then you will isolate the v, no?
Yeah.
Correct? So v is proportional to z by n. What you should remember is this. This value of this constant you should remember, 2.18 into 10 power 6 meter per second multiplied by z by n. Okay. So now this gives us velocity in a Bohr's orbit, right? Velocity of an electron in a Bohr's orbit. Z is the atomic number, n is the number of the orbit. Okay. Now, if you have velocity, then you have velocity mvr is equal to nh by 2 pi. So you have radius also. Yeah.
So by n, do you mean the amount of orbits or the orbit in which the electron is?
Orbit in which, no? n is equal to 1, no? See earlier, n is equal to 1 or n is equal to 2 or n is equal to 3, no? This means that, no, here.
Okay, fine.
In Bohr's predictions, he was saying that angular momentum is quantized, right? Angular momentum goes in steps of h by 2 pi, 2h by 2 pi, 3h by 2 pi and all, right? Correct. Where n is deciding which orbit you are in, right?
Yeah.
N is not number of orbits. Total number of possible orbits is infinite, no?
Yeah.
Like you can go in n is equal to 10 to 1 also you can be, right? It's not n is not limited, right? The number of n orbits can be very large.
Yeah.
But which particular orbit you are in decides the angular momentum. Okay.
Yeah.
This is the meaning of the Bohr postulate. N is what? Orbital number. The n is the shell number, basically. Which shell you are in. Right? Basically, it is principal quantum number too. Okay.
Yeah.
So right now, we have not done quantum mechanics, so we don't want to worry about that right now. But remember that it is the orbit number, the shell where you are in, right? So this is the z by n. So z will be atomic number, n will be the orbit number. So remember this formula. Remember this formula, and whenever you need some other things or you need the constant, some terms here, then you should do the derivation and check, right? Okay. So this k, by the way, k in Coulomb's law, the k is actually 1 by 4 pi e naught. So later when we do physics and all, you will know that. But right now, don't bother. Maybe it will not be necessary. But right now, what I'm trying to get is radius now. Because we have velocity, we can get radius, no? So radius is equal to nh by 2 pi mv, right? Correct?
Yeah.
So let's can somebody write this down so that I can ask you the same formula in the next page, right? Write this down so that we don't forget.
Yeah.
V is equal to this.
Yeah.
Okay. So I will use that to derive radius. I'm going to the next screen. So radius is equal to NH by 2 pi MV, right?
Yeah.
So now NH by 2 pi M, V was 2 pi K E square, right?
Yeah.
By
H.
H and
Z.
Z by N, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the situation. So now see, N is here, correct? So
Yeah.
N goes on top. So everything else we'll keep it as it is. So see, H square by 4 pi square K. So I have removed this, I have removed this, K E square, and N square by Z.
Yeah.
Correct? So notice that all of these terms are constants, no? H, pi, K, E, right?
Yeah.
So radius is equal to 0.529 angstrom into N square by Z. This constant has been calculated, right? Once you calculate it, it will come out to be 0.529 into 10 power minus 10 meters. Okay.
Yeah.
So this value is the radius of a Bohr orbit. Bohr orbit. And the earlier value V was the velocity of electron in a Bohr orbit. Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So notice these dependencies. This is what is important to notice, and the value exactly. So now you can predict radius of second Bohr orbit will be 4 times the radius of first Bohr orbit, no?
Yeah.
Because N is equal to 2, then it will become 4, no? 4 here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. And
Yeah.
for hydrogen, Z is 1. For lithium, Z will be 3, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually the Bohr model is only applicable to hydrogen like species, only applicable to hydrogen and hydrogen like species. Hydrogen like species means single electrons. It should have one electron only. Okay. So it can be applicable on hydrogen or helium plus charge or lithium double charge and so on. Okay. So it will not be applicable for multi-electron atoms. So Bohr model was only like the bare beginnings of quantum mechanics. It's not even close to being correct, but it is on the right track. So it only works for these. Okay. So all of these derivations are only for hydrogen, helium, lithium, and all like this. Lithium 2
But
plus.
for like lithium, the electron
plus.
can be only in the first shell, right?
Lithium 2 plus. So electron can be in the first shell, but if you excite it, it can be in the second shell also.
Okay, like that. Okay.
Like if you give it some energy, it can go anywhere. Okay. So only one electron is there. The electron can be anywhere. It can be in the first orbit also, second orbit also. You can have an excited lithium atom, right?
Yeah.
Correct. That is what we saw, no? So atoms could be excited and they could go to higher levels and lower levels and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
So that is why the spectra was coming, no? Because electrons could freely jump from one level to another level, right? So the N is not fixed. So the configurations that you see, the electronic configurations that you see are for the most stable states, right? When you write 1s2, 2s2, 2p6 and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
What you are writing is for the stable states of those atoms. Okay, you're not writing for any excited state. You understand? So those configurations are fixed only because you are assuming that atoms are in their stable states and they're not changing their state. They're not excited atoms that you are writing for, right?
Yeah.
So electrons are totally free and able to go from one level to another level if given the right amount of energy, right?
Yeah.
Now notice that since velocity is like this, kinetic energy will be half mv square, right? For an electron.
Yeah.
So kinetic energy of the electron will be proportional to z square by n square,
Yeah.
right? Now,
Yeah.
in when you do a little bit of electromagnetism and Coulomb's law and all, you'll know that potential energy of a charged particle is k q1 q2 by r. Okay, negative k q1 q2 by r. This is following from electromagnetism. Right now you don't know it, but just take that on faith basis for now. We will learn it soon enough. So minus k q1 q2 by r. So minus k z e into e by r, right, is the potential energy. Okay, correct. So
Yeah.
notice that r is in the denominator, so r, this will be proportional to, all of these are constant, so I'll not worry about them. So denominator, so it will become 1 by n square by z, right?
Yeah.
And see,
Yeah.
z is here also z, so it becomes z square by n square again,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
potential energy is also proportional to z square by n square, correct?
Yeah.
And kinetic energy is also proportional to z square by n square,
Yeah.
which makes sense because they should have been dimensionally the same quantities, right?
Yeah.
Correct. Now you can add these two, you'll get total energy of the electron. Actually, it is better if we do the calculations properly. So can you note down the formula for radiation, radius of the orbit?
Yeah.
Note down this formula, no? The radius of the orbit, and the velocity also we have, right? Velocity formula also we have earlier.
Yeah.
So just write this down. Once you are written, tell me. So I never try to memorize these. Don't try to memorize this formula, okay? Because no matter, I mean, I don't think anybody can actually memorize it and be sure that they will be right. Like, I don't try to memorize it. Every time I derive it whenever needed, right? So just
So,
write
but
this.
that'll take time, right?
No, I will remember for the exam. I will remember this, dude.
Oh, okay, then yeah.
You understand? For the exam, I'll
Yeah.
remember this. But if they ask a question where I need to know whether it is h or k or e square and all, then I will derive it. You understand?
Yeah.
Mostly
Yeah.
this will work for me because some calculations will be needed. But if they ask a bad question where I need to know the ratio and h and all the terms, powers and all, then I will not trust myself with this, remembering this, right? Like I don't want to lose free marks, no, so I will not try to, oh, I'll guess. I will not trust myself to remember these horrible formulas, right? I will rather derive it. No, it will take me 1 minute to derive it. I know how to derive velocity very fast, right? So for example, velocity was what? Okay, I'll just quickly do it again. Kz e square is equal to mv square r, mvr into v. So nh by 2 pi into v is kz e square. So v is equal to kz e square by nh 2 pi. So therefore velocity formula is 2 pi z 2 pi k e square by h into z by n, right?
Yeah.
And radius is equal to mvr is equal to nh by 2 pi. So radius is equal to nh by 2 pi mv, and I have to do n square by z. It will become n square by z, and h by 2 pi m I have to multiply with h by 2 pi m, and here velocity is 2 pi k e square by h, right? So it becomes h square by 4 pi square m k e square n square by z, right?
Yeah.
So it takes only 1 or 2 minutes to derive it. It's not a big deal. Okay, you can derive it, but remember the values formula, the formula with the values, right?
Yeah.
So that you don't have to do that all the time. You can directly write the value for this and the value for this, right? But in our derivation right now, I want to find out total energy. Total energy is half mv square plus minus k z e by r, right?
Yeah.
So this is my potential energy. This is my kinetic energy. Okay. So minus minus becomes plus. K is no, it becomes minus k q. This is correct. So this becomes half m v square. V square is 4 pi square k square e power 4 by h square into z square by n square, and
Yeah.
plus minus kz e square by radius, which is h square n square z, and this goes on top, 4 pi square m k e square. Now notice that it will be very similar. So see, this is half of 4 pi square m k square e power 4 by h square z square by n square. This was kinetic energy term. This is kinetic energy, and this is, notice here, this becomes z square by n square. See,
Yeah.
and k 4 pi square minus 4 pi square m k square e power 4 by h square into z square by n square.
Yeah.
See, it works out very nicely. This is potential energy, no?
Yeah.
Right? So what are we getting is potential energy, first of all, is negative. It is negative because it is a bound system. Electron is moving around the nucleus and it is bound to the nucleus. It cannot escape freely. That's why it is negative. We will learn that in physics also. Whenever there is a bound system, potential energy turns out to be negative. Okay. Like when the electron is free of the nucleus, suppose it is at infinite distance from it, then potential energy is zero. Okay. You understand?
Yeah.
So what else can you notice? You can notice that magnitude of kinetic energy, right, is half of magnitude of potential energy. See,
Yeah.
magnitude of potential energy is 4 pi square something something z square by n square, and this is half of that thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you can notice now that if you add it properly, it will become minus half of this thing, no, z square by n square.
Yeah.
Correct. So total energy will be equal to magnitude of kinetic energy, right? Magnitude of total energy is magnitude of kinetic energy. See,
Yeah.
Yeah.
are you noticing? You are basically taking kinetic energy is equal to x and potential energy is equal to minus 2 times x, right? This is what is happening.
Yeah.
So total energy becomes minus x, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what is happening, even though it looks very big and difficult, right? Correct. So total energy, now finally, this minus this thing you can write as total energy you can write as minus 13.6 EV into z square by n square. Calculate it out. Do all the calculations. These are all constants, right?
Yeah.
And remember the final formula. Remember the final formula of this thing, minus 13.6 EV z square by n square. Okay. So I will just summarize what we have learned on the next page. So we get kinetic energy plus potential energy is equal to total energy. Kinetic energy comes as some x. Total energy comes as some minus 2x. So potential energy comes as minus 2x. So total energy comes as minus x, right? And this x value was some half into 4 pi square m k square e power 4 by h into z square by n square, something like this, right? H square maybe, I'm not sure. Okay. You understand?
Yeah.
This was the
Yeah.
x value. So I will not try to remember this again. In no universe will I ever be trusting myself that this will be correct in the exam, right? What I will remember is x is equal to energy of a Bohr orbit is equal to minus 13.6 electron volt into z square by n square. This is what I will remember. Okay. And 1 electron volt is how much energy? 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 joule. Why is that? Because it is 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 electrons charge is coulomb into 1 volt is 1 joule per coulomb. Okay.
Yeah.
So 1 electron volt. Okay. So this is the energy. So this is the energy in a Bohr orbit. And now you can see why the Balmer formula turned out to be this, right?
Yeah.
1 by n square minus 1 by m square, right? We saw earlier that RHC by n square should have been something like the energy in the spectra, no? Energy level, right?
Yeah.
So see, the energy level is coming z square by n square. So this must have been the hydrogen spectrum that we are talking about. Z is 1, right?
Yeah.
And see, this is the energy level, and the energy of a particular level is decided by the n value here. So when you have n is equal to 1 and n is equal to 2 transition, you will subtract those two energies, and that is the energy of the line that is emitted, the wavelength of light, right?
Yeah.
Makes sense. Also remember those things like kinetic energy, the magnitude is equal to half of the magnitude of potential energy, and total energy magnitude is equal to the magnitude of kinetic energy. And total energy, see, turns out to be negative, no? It's less than 0.
Yeah.
This observation you will find in gravitation also, in electrostatics also. Any time where there is a bound system, right? Bound system, by which I mean it is not free. Electron is not free to go anywhere it likes, right?
Yeah.
That means basically that electron is trapped in a well. Okay, this is like a potential well. So suppose you have an electron in a potential well, there is a depth, potential energy is negative. You can electron can be going at any kinetic energy, it can be at any level here, but as long as its kinetic energy does not cross it, it cannot be free, no?
Yeah.
You are trapped in this potential. This is called a bound state. Potential energy is more negative than kinetic energy, so total energy turns out to be negative. And the moment electron acquires enough energy to escape this well, then total energy becomes 0. Then the electron is free to go wherever it likes, right?
Yeah.
So that means for electron to escape, you have to give it enough energy to cross the potential energy barrier. It has to come out of the well, no?
Yeah.
Then the electron will be free. Then total energy will be 0 or greater than 0. You understand? So every time you have a nucleus around which a charge is going, total energy should come out to be negative. If that is not happening, something is wrong. Okay. If total energy becomes 0, no, the charge is at infinity. The electron is at infinity, then total energy should be 0. Or if total energy is positive, it is at infinity and moving away or moving with some speed or something, right? So that is how it happens in satellites also, and gravitation also. Like right now, if there is a satellite which is going around the Earth, its total energy is negative because its kinetic energy is something, but potential energy is more negative than it. So it is trapped inside the Earth's orbit. So if you give it enough energy, suddenly you switch on some rockets, boosters, and give it enough kinetic energy, then kinetic energy becomes enough to conquer that potential barrier. The Earth is pulling it towards itself. And when it is able to conquer that barrier, it will come out of the well. Once it comes out of the well, it can go wherever, right? Then it is free of the Earth. Basically free of the Earth's gravitational pull. Okay. So this is the same logic here, right? So that's about it for Bohr model. What we will do in the next class, which will be about the quantum mechanical model, which will be Schrodinger's equation and orbitals and configuration and so on, right? We'll discuss all of that in the next class, Heisenberg's uncertainty principle and everything. Make sure that you read the text and all. I hope it was different from your Alan class.
Yes, sir.
Alan, how did they teach all of this?
So they just taught it like, okay, these are the formulas and
these are the formulas.
Yeah.
Like it was different, no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So it will be interesting. If you read McMurray, you'll find it very interesting. This whole thing, this whole 100-year journey to figuring out the atom structure, no, is very interesting. So you should read up a little more. Go online, find out how people figured out all of this. So read up
Yeah.
on all of these experiments. So Thomson onwards, Thomson, Rutherford, and then Niels Bohr. There are many interesting books and all, but right now maybe you don't have the time to read those. But anyway, it's an interesting phase. Like it's a very productive phase for humanity in general. People figured out so many things, and like in 1880s only, people knew next to nothing about the atom. Nobody believed that atoms are real also, and by 1920 we knew everything. You understand? It's like amazing 50 years in which quantum mechanics, the whole understanding of chemistry and physics was revolutionized. Okay, in 40-50 years, like so many things happen. So we'll continue, we'll learn about the quantum mechanical model also. Till then,
Yeah.
just do two things for chemistry: work out the problems of chapter 4 and chapter 3, anything that is left over, right?
Yeah.
And read chapter 5. Read chapter 5, the theory from the book. Okay,
Okay.
so we will continue there, and next week mostly atomic structure we will be able to finish. If not, maybe one more week will be needed, but mostly it should be done. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it for today. Bye.
Okay. Bye, sir.
Bye.
Yes, sir.